To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
Come on, everybody, here we go!
Best day ever!
You are a toy!
Never tell me the odds.
Excelsior!
Ohana means family. Some people are worth melting for.
Soar into tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, I'm not John, so I'm not even going to try it. So, guys, welcome to that Peer Review Live. Today, this is our Falcon and the Winter Soldier review show. So, if you have not seen it, this is going to be a spoiler-heavy show. I just want to let y'all know. So,
Lots of spoilers.
well, first off, we really don't have a game to start us off, so this is still a little bit different than our normal,
Yeah.
Normally we go right into that. So, but yeah, if you notice, there is two of us missing. That's fine. They're actually dealing with some other stuff right now. And yeah, no, John, I am not you, and nobody can go replace you. But I will say, I am the genius. All right. So yes.
We'll leave that one alone. I don't want to be mean right off the bat.
I figured I could wear this shirt when Denny's not here, so I could do it.
Mom's away. Time to play.
But no, guys, we are going to be doing our Falcon and the Winter Soldier review show, so we are going to be very spoiler heavy. So starting off, what was your expectations of the show?
I honestly wasn't sure what to expect. I kind of felt like we were gonna have a team up situation when especially with how Endgame went, and all that. It was their exchange back and forth a little bit when they were fighting Spider-Man and things like that. I was excited for it, and man, it didn't let down at all. And hey, thanks, Ethan.
Yes.
What a guy.
For everybody who doesn't know, Steve has recently got engaged.
Chill. I win.
He finally popped the question.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I know this isn't Disney or Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I know everybody's curious. How did you ask her? We want to know your engagement story.
There's nothing fancy. I just asked her. Yeah.
Okay. He is such a gentleman in that story.
Man, listen. Yeah, a cute engagement story is cool, but like I'm saving all the bang and pizzazz for the wedding, man.
Oh yeah.
For the wedding, because that's where it's gonna be boom.
That's the actual party. The engagement's just one night, and it's mostly for her. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
So so I agree with you. I was going into the show, I was actually expecting. First off, I wanted to see who takes on the title of Captain America. We all know that. I wanted the Falcon to. I wanted Sam Wilson to be the Captain America. I mean, that was the person who Steve chose at the end of Endgame. He gave the shield.
Not just that, but in the comics as well. Sam was the one who took up the mantle immediately following Steve Rogers. So, I was really hoping they were going to stick true to that, and they pretty much did for the most part. So,
no, and yeah, I was kind of curious on how off the comic books and how like they were going to go, telling the story, because so far they haven't really stuck to a lot of the comic books. They stolen titles, but
they borrow titles and they loosely reference the comics, which I'm okay with because
I totally am.
Because if they ripped it straight from the comic books, we would know what's coming. And I think they play a really good game of teeter-totter between taking stuff from the comics and keeping it surprising for us. Because if they went too much comics, we could predict everything that's going to happen. And let's be honest, we've been wrong a few times. But then if they went completely away from the comics, it probably wouldn't make a whole lot of sense either. So they kind of balance that out nicely.
And I've said this before to several people. If they went strictly from comic book to comic book, just straight page for page, most of what you're going to be seeing is just dialogue, which does not make it entertaining. Most comic books are dialogue heavy, especially nowadays. And I mean, for example, take Infinity War. The comic book itself, I'm not a big fan of. The comic book isn't that great. Whereas in the movie, it's phenomenal, and the reason why is because the comic book is nothing but Thanos monologuing and the entire time of how great he is and why he's doing what he's doing, But the movie itself was great, so I totally agree with you. But for here though, they did kind of take a lot from the comic books, from the comic books.
They took the right stuff from the comic books.
Correct, they did,
in my opinion. Yep,
and they did a great job with it. I mean, even the costume design. Holy crap! But we'll get to that one. We'll get to that when it shows up. So, let me pull up my little cheat sheet here, and we're first thing I want to do is we're going to go through each episode by episode, and we're going to talk about it afterwards. So, the first episode, A New World Order, was written by Malcolm Spellman, and it was directed by Kari Goldland, I guess you could say her name is. Sorry if I butchered that wrong. But she was basically the director for the entire series. So, but anyways, the synopsis is 6 months after all of life returned from the blip, Sam Wilson has stops a terrorist group known as the LAF, who's hijacked a plane and taken hostage over Tunisia, while support from U.S. Air Force First Lieutenant Torres. Wilson is given the mantle Captain America by Steve Rogers, who struggles with this idea and decides to give Rogers' shield to the U.S. government for a museum display. Bucky Barnes, who was recently pardoned, attends a government-mandated therapy, where he discusses his attempts to make amends for his time as a brainwashed assassin, the Winter Soldier. Torres investigates another terrorist group called the Flag Smashers, who believes that life was better during the blip. Torres is injured by a member of the group with superhuman strength when he witnesses them rob a bank in Switzerland. He later informs Wilson of this, who has been attempting to reluctantly to help his sister Sarah with his family fishing business down in Louisiana. This government then soon announces a new Captain America, John Walker. So this episode set the scene for a lot of things. First off, we've never seen Sam Wilson fight like this before. In a fight. I mean, using his, and it's not like him, because most of the time we've seen him fight. Yes, he's fighting on the ground. He's not doing aerial combat or anything like that. This is completely in the air. We see his wings do stuff that we've never seen him do before in the movies. Like the whole.
So what we end up seeing, which is really cool, is if you go back and look at Civil War, you look at everything he was in before. He flies, yes, but he does a lot of diving out of the air, and then it's on the ground hand to hand.
Yes,
and that's how we see him pretty much all the time.
Correct.
Even in Civil War, he does a little bit of flying when he's fighting, but again, the majority of it is still on the ground, and we get to see the Falcon kind of in his environment, and we get to see what kind of control he has with his wingsuit. Because before, it kind of seemed more like just like a flight apparatus.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. It got him from point A to point B, and that was it.
And now what we see is this is very similar to like early Iron Man suits, where it's part of him. He has full motor control over the wings, deploying them, bending them, shielding himself. He can do that little thing, when he's diving. Like, he has full control over everything with that. And like, that was cool, because that's the Falcon you get in the comics and the cartoons. That's not the one we've gotten to see on screen.
No.
And the first 10 minutes of the show, we get the most badass Falcon scene we've ever had.
Oh, totally correct. I mean, so we see Falcon. He's diving in and out of like helicopters, like in high speed. I mean, it looks phenomenal. We see him taking on these terrorist groups, and they're trying not to cross the border, you know. And Taurus is on the ground, and he's monitoring them from like the ground, you know, providing him the statistics, the data, and all that stuff. But still, and then afterwards, we see. Of course, his wingsuit got kind of damaged, so he's trying to fix it and everything else. And he makes a joke about he's fixing it every time the government gets their hands on. It's just completely mess, you know. But the question comes on about what happened to Steve Rogers, you know. And they joke around that he flew him up to the moon. And the way they talked about Steve Rogers in this show was like he had passed away, you know. That's the feeling. That's the feeling I got. Like
I'm definitely curious what Steve is up to, because at the end of Endgame, he wasn't dead, and I don't think I don't think he traveled from the past.
No,
I think we got, because if you think about it, later on we'll talk about Isaiah. He's about the same age as Isaiah is in this. So at least looks the same age, right?
Yeah, he's twice the age of Isaiah now, because technically he's lived both timelines twice now.
Right. So, but I mean, so that being said, I don't know if he's dead. They talk about him like he is, but I feel like he's
a senior. He's a senior citizen at this point. You know, he recognizes that his body has become more frail than it used to when you're older. You know, when you get older, you start realizing your own mortality. You know, I can't do the same stuff when I was 20 years old. You know, Lord wish I know, but my knees already kill me at this age. What I will point out, and this is something that's been a joke on the internet, and I'll say it now since Danny's not here. That's what happens when you live with a woman, I guess. You know, you start showing your age. She's probably going to eat me up in the chat in a second.
She's going to find out about this. Danny, I had no part in this, so don't call me, bro.
But no,
but yeah, he's, you know, he wasn't dead. I still feel like he's probably around, just doing his own thing. I'm sure at some point we'll get some sort of update on Steve Rogers.
No, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And I was kind of hoping that he would pop into this show, but he apparently never did. But
yeah.
But then, I mean, even, you know, it's all apparently a hush hush from the government what happens to Steve Rogers. You know, so nobody really knows, which points to the fact why people think he's dead, because he's probably no longer around.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think, because the only people that really know where he went was the Avengers.
Correct. No, you're absolutely right.
So I don't think they want to tell people that we've discovered time travel, and that's where Steve went. You know,
you don't think the government's going to let people know that yet?
Well, especially when you have the flag smashers who are trying to keep the world how it was during the blip, which was open borders.
Correct.
You know, if anything, it was kind of peaceful, but it was peaceful, open borders. You could go wherever you could go to try to be comfortable and live your life and make a living. And obviously, once the blip was reversed, we
have to go back to our way. Yeah, back to the old way of doing things. Yes.
And I personally, I like the parallel that kind of draws with the with. Oh man, we'll get to that. It does draw a parallel though, I think, with real life, which we were talking about before we went live, with how Stan Lee and Marvel their comics always reflected the state of the world.
It did.
And the blip, in my opinion, is kind of reminiscent of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Where, you know, we're trying to get things to go back to normal. But this is more of an extreme version of that, where they're trying to make the world like it was when half the population was gone, 3.5 billion people gone.
Yeah, you know, yeah, you're absolutely right. And John, I got something for that, but I'm going to save it to the very, very end. So you're just going to have to watch to the end. Hopefully you can stay up that late.
Yeah, he is old.
But so then also we get a glimpse into the life of Bucky Barnes after, you know, he's going through this therapy. He's still having his nightmares, and as somebody who's been in combat situations, yes, nightmares are real. Yes, they are. They're there. You know, when you see stuff like that, violent acts like that, you just consent. It's something that you live with, you know. So
he's going through a version of PTSD
correct,
that I don't think anyone could even fathom, because not only is he having PTSD just from being military.
Well,
he was a brainwashed assassin.
Yeah, I was about to say, not only that though, but he had no controls over his actions. So
now
he feels bad
reliving. He's reliving all of these heinous acts that he would never really do on his own accord, that he was forced to do, like killing Tony Stark's parents, or
killing his friend's son,
or killing his friend's dad. He killed King T'Challa.
Yeah,
like all of these things that he did, he's having to relive, and he's trying to. We see in this, he's starting to try to make amends. By going, he's going to therapy. He's got his book of names of people he's trying to make amends with, which we'll get more into that later, because that starts to play a bigger part. But
correct.
Yeah, man, that first episode really does set the scene in a really good way. But
here we see the therapist lady. He gives him steps on rehabilitation, basically. Step 1, straight that you're not when you're a soldier. Step 2, you're trying to make a better life for yourself. And step 3, you can't kill. So and you see him. He did try and enact that with a senator that was part of Hydra. We see that and everything else. But you still see that, and I could tell you from somebody who's been to therapy for stuff like that, it's very difficult. Of course, I went through that. Then I went to group therapy later because it was better serving for me. But still.
So real quick, Ethan, you're correct. He didn't kill T'Challa.
I was going to bring that up too.
He was you're right. He was framed for it, but he still played a part in it, and there's still a level of blame that he carried all up until everything was cleared. And to answer Carly's question, if you want to throw that up there,
I throw that definitely up there.
The only reason I want you to throw that up there is because we've seen some of the other heroes go through this. Tony Stark was going through some serious PTSD after the fight in New York. We have Thor dealing with some pretty serious PTSD when his parents were after his mom was killed and after his dad died. Like, they are all going through different forms of it.
No, and John's absolutely right. I mean, PTSD, the term is fairly new, but yes, the whole concept of it has been around. I mean, back in World War II, they were calling it shell shock, But the Punisher's, his whole ordeal is that he suffers from PTSD.
His
that's his storyline.
His storyline is textbook PTSD.
Yeah,
that's what it is. But yeah, definitely. A lot of the superheroes in Marvel, in particular, go through that. Mm-hmm. I mean, Batman's whole, like, I know he's not Marvel, but even in DC, Batman's whole upbringing is
the reason
him becoming Batman is the PTSD of watching his parents get killed. Wolverine goes through it, between
PTSD from war, Civil War.
I mean, he was in like 3 or 4 major wars in the world. World War II. He was involved in all these wars and everything he's gone through. Like, I think they portray it really well in these movies without making it uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
because you see when these characters go through all this, they do it in a way that's relatable.
No, you're right. But then also another side of the characters we get to see is a little bit insight of Sam Wilson and his family and how they're struggling to make money, and in the comic books, when you are an Avenger, yes, you actually do have a salary, and it's actually bankrolled by Tony Stark. You get a membership card and everything else. It's like a monthly stipend and all that stuff. But nobody went through and explained this in the MCU. So now we learn, these superheroes don't get paid, because nobody thinks about, if superhero is a full-time job, where's your money coming from, And
right. Yep.
I mean, the banker actually makes noise. I was like, didn't Tony bankroll y'all? And he's like, it's not really how it works, son. We get paid through other acts, you could kind of say.
And John, if you can throw John's comment up there as well, on the flip side of things, John's absolutely right, because if you go back again and you look at the PTSD thing, the way it's handled kind of determines the outcome of that character. Because in, Civil War, we see Baron Zemo.
Yeah.
We see in Age of Ultron, we see Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. We see these people who are dealing with PTSD from super traumatic experiences caused by the Avengers or the work of the Avengers. And we see where they can't handle it properly, and they end up going off the deep end, and they end up going the far opposite side of where these other people go. Some of them become superheroes, some of them become super villains, and it all kind of stems from the same kind of issues. And yes, Ethan, Wolverine, Civil War, World War I, World War II, and Vietnam.
Some storylines, he was in Korea.
Yep, he was also in Korea. Hey, no, listen, man. I'm cool. I'm medicated. I'm cool with it. If I miss something,
no. We enjoy. If we're wrong, I highly encourage the chat to actually tell us.
Okay, no, because we want to give you guys the right info. So, episode 1 is where we see them at the bank, right?
Correct.
So
they go to the bank. I want to say yes. This is the one where they go to the bank and they kind of get denied for the loan, even though the guy is geeking out that he's the Falcon.
Yeah, and this is where, and again, I think Marvel did a really beautiful job of this. This is where you start again seeing a reflection of the real world and how African American people feel in certain situations because of the current political and social on things in the real world, right?
Correct.
So you see that like they're black people trying to get a loan, and
their finances are way out of whack.
Their finances are way off, and you start seeing this theme of being a black person in America and how it kind of affects you. And that goes right into episode 2, where we kind of start off, which you can read the synopsis from that episode, and then we'll go into that.
All right, so Walker appears on Good Morning America. John Walker is the new Captain America at this point, and he reveals his desire to live up to Rogers' mantle. Barnes tells Wilson that he should have kept the shield, but before accompanying him to Munich, where the Flag Smashers and their leader, Carly, are stealing a shipment of medicine. Wilson and Barnes attack the group, but the terrorists are all super soldiers and overpower the pair. Walker and Lamar arrive to help, but the Flag Smashers escape. Walker wants to work with Barnes and Wilson, but they refuse. Traveling to Baltimore, Barnes introduced Wilson to Isaiah Bradley, a veteran super soldier who fought in the Winter Soldier in the Korean War. However, Bradley refused to help them uncover information about additional super soldiers due to being in prison and experimented on by the U.S. government and Hydra for 30 years. Barnes is arrested for missing therapy appointment, but Walker has him released, and Barnes and Wilson again refuse to work with Walker, and Barnes suggests that they visit the imprisoned Helena Zemo.
Yep, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this episode because it kind of just more connected a few dots.
It did, but the biggest reveal here was Isaiah Bradley.
So real quick, Isaiah Bradley, for those of you who don't know who he is outside of this, okay? In the comics, there are a few different people that take up the mantle of Captain America over the years. His son, Steve Rogers' son, there's a few other people, but Isaiah Bradley was one of the few black Captain Americas. And in the comics, he was a badass.
Well, he took up, in the comic books, he took up Captain America's mantle, but the reason why was because he stole the suit, he sold the shield, and So, I mean, yes, he was experimented on. After Cap was in the ice, they restarted the whole entire super soldier serum up. And with that being said, some of it worked. Some of them got some weird powers. Some of them got half of Captain America's powers, like he could run fast and that was it, or some other stuff. There was a whole group after that. Mm-hmm. And Isaiah Bradley tended to work, but he still constantly needed the super soldier serum at the same time. He couldn't. It wasn't like he took it once and it just stayed with him. And I may be wrong because it's been years and years since I read it as a Bradley comic, and I wasn't really big on reading about him much because at this time I was really into the Ultimates. But
I love the Ultimates.
oh yeah, me too. But I want, if I remember correctly, he had to continually take the serum instead of it working like it did for Steve, you know.
Yeah.
So he was one of the experimentations, but in the end, he did escape. He did still, and that's how he became Captain America. And then
he
later,
was a badass Captain America, though.
yeah, and then later he was imprisoned for it, basically.
Yeah.
So, but I will say, I think at this point, Marvel has done a great job of actually maintaining that this story is street level. You know, these are characters that are not larger than life. This is street level characters, you know, at the same time. We don't see Isaiah Bradley doing anything credible. In fact, actually, he hates the Captain America symbol, you know. I mean, he can't stand it.
And so Isaiah, the way they portrayed him in this, and again, I think they did a really beautiful job of this, was he really portrayed how, which I'm not African American, I don't know how it feels, but if anyone could kind of make you feel and try to understand what it feels like to be an African American in America, it was Isaiah.
Yeah.
The way he talked about it, the reason he felt a black man can't be Captain America, and well, yeah, I mean, everyone knows that Sam was going to become Cap, but I mean, the way they used him to kind of portray that message, like that was some strong, like impactful shit that they did with that character, and I loved it.
And truthfully, I can't fault the guy because that's what he experienced, you know.
Oh yeah.
So
1,000%.
and I'll leave it to that for right now because believe me, I have a huge reveal at the end of this.
Yeah. So
comparative thing.
So ending episode 2, they've essentially they're going after Zemo, Baron Zemo.
Correct.
So go ahead and give us a synopsis for episode 3.
So the Power Brokers, episode 3, and Zemo is offered to, or let me restart that. Zemo offers to help stop the Flag Smashers. So Barnes orchestrates a prison riot to help him escape prison. They travel to Madripoor, a secret sanctuary city island ran by the mysterious Power Broker. High-powered criminal Shelby reveals that the Power Broker hired former Hydra scientist Dr. Wilfred Nagel, sorry, I can't read, to recreate the Silver Soldier serum. Shelby is killed when Wilson identity is exposed, and every bounty hunter in Madripoor reaches Barnes, Wilson, and Zemo. Sharon Carter, who's been living as a fugitive on the island, saves the trio, directs them to the lab. They learn that he created 20 doses of the serum, which what's his name stole. The bounty hunter attacks them. Zemo kills Nigel in the chaos before finding a getaway vehicle. Carter stays behind, and Wilson promised to get her pardon. The Flag Smashers raid and bomb the Global Reparations Council storage facility in Lithuania, while Zemo, Barnes, and Wilson search for them in Latvia. Barnes is confronted. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, the rest of it is all right. So go ahead.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about Madripoor. Okay. Because we all know that the X-Men will at some point be in the MCU. Mm-hmm. And Madripoor is key to that. Madripoor plays a part in Wolverine's story, plays a part in several of the X-Men story, because this is a place where if you're different, if you're a fugitive, if you have abilities, you can somewhat fit in normal.
Correct.
And Madripoor is a big part of the X-Men story, so I just wanted to hit on that real quick because when I saw the flag for Madripoor, I was so stoked. I was hoping we were going to see some mutants in there here and there. We didn't, but that doesn't mean we won't. We just haven't in this series. But man, that was huge for me. I was so excited to see that.
Oh no. And so the big thing about here is Baron Zemo has been broke out of jail. And the funny thing is though, when they get on a plane and they can't fathom that Baron Zemo is rich. He is a baron. That's not his name. That is actually a royal title that he holds. So he has money. And I like the fact they put on the jacket with the collar, the fluffy collar, and then
Vin Diesel jacket from Triple X.
but a different color. But yes. And then later we see him pulled off the. Oh man, the only thing he was missing was a sword. If they only given him a sword, it would have been perfect.
I love how they pulled that mask directly from the comics and cartoon, man.
But here's the point, and
they didn't use it enough, but
here's the point I want to bring up about that though. Baron Zemo, yes, in the comics he's related to Hydra and everything else. In the movies, he hasn't had any ties to Hydra at all. The only reason why he wanted revenge was because his country, Wachovia, had been destroyed, and he wanted revenge. That's the only reason. It wasn't because of Hydra. It wasn't because of the whole thing. This is the part I have is when they connected him to Hydra when they have yet to do that at all.
Yeah, I was a little confused by that because if you watch Civil War, he's going after Hydra agents to get the info on Barnes.
Oh yeah,
that's really the only connection we have, and that's not a connection of partnership. That was a connection of he just has some inside info from Hydra or about Hydra, but that doesn't connect him as a
Hydra person.
As a member of Hydra. So.
And truthfully, Hydra's whole mission during World War II was also create a super soldier, which he's totally against,
Right.
So, I mean, I can understand the reason why they went after him was because he did have some sort of knowledge of super soldiers,
right,
and everything else. Because you got to remember, he's the one that showed Captain America and Iron Man that whole facility of the super soldiers, but he shot them all.
Right.
So he's totally against it.
John said, and he found this information on Reddit, ? I'm going to say, obviously not Reddit, but so with him being a baron, him having the money he has and the connections he has, he knew about Madripoor. He probably had his hands in several operations going on at the same time.
He was special forces.
Yeah,
so he was special forces.
So he's got his hands, in some special forces things, and he's also just a rich dude, right? So he just has connections all over the place.
Well, it's like Tony Stark knowing what's his name, because there's conventions doesn't mean he talked to the guy, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
Vaguely.
Oh gosh. The Claw.
Oh, Ulysses Claw. Yeah.
Yeah, Ulysses Claw. Yeah, when he mentions, I know of a guy that made, and he goes, "Wait, he goes, there's conventions we go to because rich people know rich people, I guess you could say, but yeah."
Bohemian Grove type Illuminati shit. You weird rich fucks. Okay, anyway, sorry.
But anyways, then what really saves them in Madripoor is Sharon Carter, and we have not seen Sharon Carter since Civil War. We haven't
not in a long time.
And truly, when we see her, it was nice to see her again, because. And then we kind of find out she's been living in Madripoor because she's a wanted fugitive, which makes sense. Yeah, she stole Cap's shield during the middle of the Civil War event.
And Falcon's wings.
And Falcon's wings and all that stuff. So yeah, the government has marked her as a traitor.
Is this the episode where we have oh my god, I just drew a blank. Shit. Son of a bitch. Anyway, go on. I don't remember where I was going with that. I lost it.
But the episode does end with Ao, a member of the Wakandan.
That's it. That's what I was going to ask.
Dora,
we get the Wakandans in this. Yeah.
Yes, and they come out of nowhere and confront Bucky about Barnes or about Baron Zemo, which kind of wonders who has the better spy agency, Wakanda or America? Because America is still trying to figure out who brought.
we can't compare that, man. Wakanda has with as advanced as Wakanda is, and the type of surveillance they have, the type of technology they have.
Oh, it was
everywhere, man.
They just kind of showed up out of nowhere when everybody's looking for them two, sort of deal. But also we do see in this episode that let me make sure it's this one. Yeah. No. Yeah. At one point I do want to bring up was the therapy session with Barnes.
Yes.
With Sam and his
that's a very key part of the story, actually. So, yeah, when they're in there and the therapist kind of brings out all of these inner demons for both of them, as well as issues they have with each other.
Yeah, and Sam's straight up on the fence as well. I mean, you're not here for me, which makes sense. But at the same time, them two having a staring contest, I mean, you got to realize these two people hated each other. The only reason why they tolerated each other was because they had a mutual friend, know?
Interesting fact. Did you know that scene was 90% improv?
I did not know that, but I could believe it. Looking back, I could see that.
That's why if you watch, and actually my fiance pointed it out, was they you could tell that they were trying really hard to keep a straight face through some of that.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like they were holding back smiles or giggles because they improvised that whole scene.
Oh man, that
is insane to me.
And to me, at this point in time, that does sum up their relationship. They know who each other is. They tolerate each other. They don't agree with each other, but they do so because of a mutual friend.
Yep, absolutely.
And which makes things worse that at this point in time, you got Bucky who's mad at Sam because he gave up the shield.
Yep.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. So moving along to the next episode. Episode 4, The Whole World is Watching. All right.
Oh boy.
Ayo gives Barnes 8 hours to use Zemo before the Wakandians take him, and Zemo killed their former king Chitaka. No, not Chitala. Chitaka. Chitala's dad. All right.
Tuchanka, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Zemo helps find Morgantha. I can't pronounce that. At a funeral for her adoptive mother, where Walker and Hoskins intercept him. Wilson speaks with Carly. I'm just going to say Carly alone.
Name, yep.
Yeah, in an attempt to persuade her to end the violence, but an impatient Walker intervenes and a fight ensues. Zemo destroys most of the serum before he is apprehended by Walker, who secretly takes the last vial. Ayo and the Dora, the Secret Service from Wakanda, come for Zemo, but Walker refuses to hand him over. And in ensuing the fight, the Wakandians humiliate Walker while Zemo escapes. Carly threatens Sarah, forcing Wilson to meet with her to attempt to persuade him to join her. Walker and Hopkins engage in other members of the Flash Smashers, leading to another fight in which Carly accidentally kills Hoskins. Enraged by his friend's death and having taken the serum, Walker uses his shield to kill one of the Flag Smashers in front of a horrified bystanders who film him in his actions.
Yeah.
Wow, this was an episode.
So real quick, I gotta say, if this didn't happen to you when you were watching this episode, when oh my God, Walker puts his hand on the Wakandan chick's shoulder, if everyone in their mind didn't hear the words, "At this moment, he knows he fucked up," if that didn't happen in your head, like we all know, you don't touch the Wakandan guard. You don't touch them. You don't talk back to them. You don't touch them. You don't get in their face. And he straight up put his hand on her shoulder, and he got exactly what came to him. Homie got beat up.
So, let's break this down. So, one of the first points I want to talk about was how Sam was willing to go in along to talk to Carly, which is a good point because I feel like they don't really touch on the fact that when we first meet Sam Wilson, he is a counselor for people with PTSD. All right. he knows how to talk to people like this. He knows how to like bring out the emotions and get them to oversee their, that's what his job is. And the MCU has not really done anything to touch on this at all, and I think they did a great job in that, but then you see Walker coming in just like a bulldog, ready to fight. And the reason why is because at this point he hasn't done anything to prove himself to be Captain America yet.
Right. He hasn't really. He hasn't earned his stripes.
No, he's got the mantle, but everybody's still comparing him to.
He was captain by name, not by anything else. Is what he was.
Correct. Which is sort of like, if you follow Steve Rogers in the MCU, when he was first given Captain America, he was given Captain America as a mostly, hey, let's parade you around the country to sell more bonds sort of a deal, and not really use you in the fights. We know you're a super soldier, but we don't care about that,
Right.
We don't want you to hurt you.
I do want to point out, though, I want to point something out, that the way Marvel ties in everything they make
is
remarkable. And the reason I bring that up is, so if you remember in Captain America, the first movie, and General Patton is like, why are you choosing this little pipsqueak to be Captain America? To go through this super soldier program, because he's tiny. He can't fight.
Correct.
He's tiny. He has nothing to provide. And then their grenade gets thrown. Steve's the first one to jump on the grenade, right?
Correct.
He's not all brawn, he's brain, but he is braver than anybody else there, right?
Yes.
And then you fast forward to this, right? And what kind of soldier was Walker? Walker is a decorated 3-time Medal of Honor receiving, Medal of Valor he is like, if you could picture the perfect soldier, he was the perfect soldier. He's somebody who General Patton in World War II would have been like, that's who I want, right? And then we start to see over the rest of these episodes, especially in this one, why Steve was chosen for his character versus the other guys chosen for their physical stature.
Well, yeah, and you got to realize the state of mind that he was in whenever he took, like when John Walker takes the serum. All right, he just had his ass handed to him by the Wakandan guard. Yeah, I mean, he's
the Wakandan guard.
He's sitting there and he's like, and they weren't even super soldiers. So he's like, what am I doing then? Which I mean, you kind of feel for the guy for a little bit. You're like, wow, you're given this mantle. You don't have nothing to help you out. Besides,
you definitely feel for him a little bit because, you realize fairly quick, that you realize fairly quick that he's out of his league because, again, like we've alluded to, he's not a super soldier yet.
No, he
doesn't have, granted, he can obviously handle the shield well. He's got strength. He's a strong guy, but he's not Steve Rogers strong. He's not Bucky Barnes strong. He's more
of like a tactical. He's good at tacticals. He's good at like planning and everything else. He was special forces and all that.
He's a very fit soldier,
but he's a soldier. Yeah, he's a soldier. Which I mean, soldiers could tell you right now, there is no such thing as a one man army. Soldiers rely on other people. We are a fighting force, not just one person, whereas Steve Rogers is a fighting force of himself, but that's because he's got the super soldier serum. I mean, I can tell you right now, Ranger School is nothing. I mean, yeah, Ranger School is cool, but all Ranger School is about team dynamics as a fighting force. That's all it is.
Yeah. If you look at, real world military, it's never a one person thing. It's special forces. You have the Navy SEALs, you have the Army Rangers,
and I can tell you every single people. And I can tell you, like U.S. Special Forces has a minimum of 4 guys that's out in the field. 4 guys. Now they have a huge support group behind them, but out in the field they have 4 people, and each 4 person has their specialized job. You got the commo, weapons, demolition, or engineer, and something else, a doctor. But whereas in Captain America is a single fighting force. He's all force right there. But anyways, going on, we see him take the serum, and then he goes on a rampage. You
Yep.
know, we
Yeah.
see.
So he's going through this. They come into contact with Carly and the Flag Smashers again,
Mhm,
and through this battle, Lamar is killed
correct.
and brutally killed,
Oh yes.
and it sends Walker over the edge.
It,
And this is where we get the title of the episode, The World is Watching, because he ends up chasing these Flag Smashers to this town square. And he
just
does
literally beats
and
the
he
crap
does
out of
the unthinkable, which again, this draws another parallel with the kind of character that Steve was versus
Mhm.
Walker, is he bashes the shield into this man's chest to death. He brutalizes him. He completely just obliterates this guy with the shield. And again, we can draw the parallels of Walker's character as a trained soldier killing machine versus
Steve
Steve
Rogers.
Rogers, who's a man of valor and honor, and because he had that same opportunity to do the same thing to Tony Stark.
No, yeah. At the end of Civil War, you see him smashing Tony's shield the same exactly way, and I mean, you see it in Tony's eyes. He looks like he's about to die. You
Yep.
know, you see the fear. You know, and what does he do?
Steve has the will to stop himself, though.
Correct. You know, and
Well, Ethan, to be fair, they didn't realize they were going up against super soldiers when they were assigned to this yet.
no, they hadn't known about the super soldier or how many super soldiers there actually were and whatnot.
I think they only knew at the time that maybe Carly and one other person maybe were enhanced. Everyone else were just normal people at the time.
So, but yes, we see, and the first thing I thought was, wow, you know, if I'm sitting there filming that guy just doing that, yeah, I'm going to post on YouTube. You know how many hits I can get right away?
Yeah, like
Parlor.
Yeah, the whole world was watching because you had like 100 people with their phones out, and they all captured this happening.
Correct. No, you're absolutely right. And then, so the next episode, I have Truth. We get Wilson and Barnes demand the shield from Walker, leading to a fight in which Walker destroys Wilson's wingsuit. Wilson and Barnes take the shield, breaking Walker's arm. Barnes finds Zemo in Sokovia with his hands over and hands him over to the Wakandians, while Walker receives an other than honorable discharge and is stripped of his title as Captain America. Afterwards, Walker is approached by Countessa Val. Ooh, I can't wait to talk about her. Wilson leaves the damaged wingsuit with Torres and visits Bradley, who states his belief that a black man cannot and should not be Captain America. Wilson returns home and helps fix the family boat with assistance of several locals and Barnes, who delivers the briefcase from the Wakandians to Wilson. Barnes and Wilson trains with the shield and agree to move on from their past and work together. The Flag Smashers plan to attack GRC's conference in New York City and are joined by Batroc, who Carter secretly hired. In the mid-credit scene, I did not know there was a mid-credit scene. I gotta go back and watch that. Walker helps build a new shield from scraps of metal and his war medals. I did not know there was a mid-credit scene. I got to go back and watch that.
So I want to let everyone know this, and we'll get to Ethan's comment here in a minute. But a lot of people don't realize this. So when he tells Torres, keep it, I don't think people know what that's alluding to here, because when Sam becomes Captain America, yes, he still has the wings. He's still essentially the Falcon, right? But now his name is officially Captain America. That is his title. What people don't realize is Joaquin Torres does take up the mantle of Falcon
later. Yes.
And so I love how they were able to get that in there so subtly, because to the layman, he was like, keep it, because it was junk. It was junked out. It was destroyed.
Well, all right. Well, let's break down this episode in order. So first thing we see is the fight between Walker, Barnes, and Sam Wilson, which was a great fight. And we see Barnes just rip off the wings. Or not Barnes. I mean, We see
Walker.
Walker rip off the wings,
Yep.
as a sign of strength and all that stuff. And finally, they break his arm, and they let him go. They let him go, or no, he's arrested. Sorry, he gets arrested, and we see them go back to help fix up the boat. And the funny little thing is when Barnes is kind of flirting with Sarah. That's what I got from it. He was actually flirting with Sarah.
Definitely.
But then we see them, they're throwing around the shield. And that right there showed again his how he used to counsel people with PTSD. And to me, Barnes got more out of that session probably than any other therapy session he had with that old lady. They actually get him to understand. They see each other's point of view, why he gave up the shield. They understand each other. They apologize in the man way. Real men don't say I'm sorry. They do other ways. But but you see Sam is throwing around the shield, and they're just like good old boys drinking a beer, really, and just shitting the shit. And then on the other side, we see Walker. He's in front of a military tribune, and they are passing judgment upon him. Basically, it's almost like an Article 15 on him, but he gets an honorable discharge.
Yeah, that tribunal, in my opinion, came down pretty light on him compared to what they could have done.
Yes, so if you look at the hierarchy of discharges, you get honorable, which is what everybody gets when they get out if they've been good, no. Like I've got honorable discharge,
like they served it, they did their time, they did their duty.
They did what they're supposed to. Now then you start getting down to you got other than honorable, you've got bad conduct, and then you got dishonorable. All right, so and I've got to go look it up. I think other than honorable is below honorable. I've got to double check though on that, and I wish I should have. But so he gets one below, but still. That's on his record now. All right. If he goes to apply for a job, they look that up. Military service. I'm sorry, he's not going to get a secret clearance or nothing after this because that will show up, and that will.
If he's ever in the government again, as far as work goes, he's going to be limited. He's going to be limited to cleaning latrines or lunch lady or something.
Correct.
He'll never be trusted with anything again.
Exactly. And then we see Val come in afterwards, and basically, he's even like whispering, "Hey, just to give you a little government secret. The shield doesn't belong to the government. That's like a little gray area, Which I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess you could say that.
Now, should we let them know who this person is?
My introduction to Val, I will let y'all know, and I know John, I don't know if John's still on or not, but my introduction to Val was actually the introduction to Secret Wars. That's how they found out about the Skrull invasion.
Yep.
I will let y'all know. I do know Marvel is planning on doing Secret Wars.
They are, yep. And
maybe Val will play a big part of it.
Well, there's also reason to believe, now this is more of a rumor mill situation.
Yep.
But the foundation for the Dark Avengers has been laid out.
Mm-hmm.
Because Val is she's portrayed what's her name? Is it Madam Hydra or Lady Hydra?
Yep. Madam Hydra.
So she brings together the Dark Avengers, which is U.S. Agent, which is who Walker's going to be. We have we have John Walker as U.S. Agent. This could potentially bring us Red Hulk. This will bring us, potentially could bring us the Dark Avengers. And if it goes like the comics, that's going to be so bad.
Well, I was thinking instead of Dark Avengers, I was thinking more of Thunderbolts.
It could also be the Thunderbolts.
I was thinking more of Thunderbolts
because General Ross, who brought us the Sokovian Accords, in Civil War, obviously being a big part in the Hulk story.
Yep.
He is Red Hulk in the comics. He is Red Hulk.
Correct.
At some point. So yeah, man, this could be leading us to some really cool shit that I've always wanted to see on the big screen.
And I'm curious to see where it goes, but But we see Val, and she basically gives him a job right there without saying it, you know. And her character, she plays her character perfectly, where she's kind of mysterious. You don't know what it is, but from us comic book fans, we know she's straight up Hydra. We know she's bad. Now, but the ways that she does it to him is we start to see this arc of John Walker. Yeah, you could say he was a bad guy at this point, but not really. He thought he was going to be. He thought he was doing right.
I would say at this point we're gonna have to put him in the anti-hero.
Yeah, he's no longer. He's not a villain, but he's not the hero.
He's not a villain by any means. He tried to be a hero and he couldn't pull it off.
Correct.
So now he's kind of in limbo where he's trying to figure out who he is. And Val, which we'll get to, ends up making him. She even says the name. We don't need a Captain America. We need a U.S. agent. And that gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, we'll get to that in the end.
Oh, all
right.
I'm jumping all over, but I'm so excited about what's to come now with Marvel. I'm so excited.
So, all right. The last episode, One World, One People. While wearing a new Captain America uniform and flight suit from Wakandians, Wilson flies to New York to stop the Flag Smashers' attack with the help of Barnes, Carter, and Walker. Carter accidentally reveals that she is the power broker to Batroc and kills him, while Wilson attempts to reason with Carly before Carter kills her as well. Wilson convinces the GRC to postpone the forced relocation of displaced people that Carly died fighting for, instead make efforts to help them. The remaining serum-enhanced Flag Smashers are caught by Barnes and Walker and sent to the raft, but they are killed by Zemo's butler en route. Val gives Walker a new uniform and a code name, U.S. Agent. Barnes makes amends with everyone he's hurt enabled as a Winter Soldier, while Wilson has a memorial dedicated to Bradley added to the Captain America Museum exhibit. In the mid-credit scene, after receiving a full pardon, Kerr rejoins the CIA and intends to use this access to sell government secrets and resources. All right. This is a big episode. I know we got a lot to talk about. So let's break it down first. So first off, we see them. We see the new Captain America uniform. Holy crap! Was that straight out of the comic book or what?
I'm gonna have to go a little vulgar here, but holy motherfucking goddamn shit, man! When I saw that suit, man, like full on.
Oh man,
I got goosebumps like you wouldn't believe. My goosebumps had goosebumps. Like, man, I tell you what, rarely do you see a costume come from the comics and not look super corny.
Perfect.
And this was perfect, man. Like think about it. If we would have seen Wolverine and in the X-Men animated series costume.
Wait, the 90s one with the blue and the yellow?
Yeah. Yes. That would have been corny as shit, right?
Yes.
If we would have seen Scarlet Witch pop up in her Scarlet Witch costume at the very beginning.
We did.
At the very beginning. If she would have debuted like that, it would have been corny. Okay, like the way that they've introduced these costumes or made them evolve to eventually look like the comics. They've done it gradually and naturally, so it doesn't come off so corny and gross. This one came straight out of the pages.
Oh, it was
looked fucking perfect. Oh,
all right, Carly. But yeah, so and we see him. You know, and
that was sexy as shit. I felt my thing move a little bit. I swear to God, Randy.
So we have the fight scene and everything else, you know, and we see what the new suit can do. Like we see that instead of one red wing, it has 3 red wings.
Was it 3?
Yeah, I want to say it was 3. It may have been 2. I may have been wrong.
Either way,
I'm from Georgia. I can't count anyway, so it's all right.
That's true.
but anyway, so more assets for him. And not only that, though, is powerful enough to lift up a armored truck that's falling.
That right there was something awesome because part of me was like, when Sam becomes captain, he's not going to take the super soldier serum. How are they going to enhance him? And it makes perfect sense that he's going to get this indestructible wingsuit from the Wakandans. And of course they're going to soup it up.
No,
and the dude lifts up a fucking armored truck.
And I totally forgot to bring up the training that went into it. Like he practiced. He kept failing,
Oh,
but
yeah.
just like the great England
great,
Prime
you can't
Minister. Yeah, I know. He tried and tried and tried again. You know,
Mhm.
and I mean, and not only that though, but he didn't just do it his way. He was practicing Steve Rogers moves with the entire flips and everything
kind
else.
of. If you again, me being the kind of nerd I am, if you go back and watch how Steve uses his shield versus how Sam does it, there's a clear difference because of the fact that Steve
He doesn't
Rogers
have
was a
this-
super soldier
Yep.
serum. So when Steve uses the shield, more often than not, it's just a flick of the arm, and he's throwing it with crazy accuracy and power
Correct.
and speed, right? Versus, and that's how Bucky would throw it too.
Well, yeah, because he's.
But if you
super
look
short.
at Sam, and I love that they did this because it's such a small detail, but it gives some validity and some real life aspect to it. When Sam uses that shield, he has to put his whole body into it to get the same
Yeah.
effect.
No. You see him instead of doing like the entire just one arm flick, he spins his body around and flings it with
Yeah,
his
and
entire.
like-
he
and
uses
again,
momentum.
Yeah, and it's a small detail, but for again a nerd like me, like seeing them make that difference in their style is
But-
such a big thing.
But and also it's something that we don't see in movies or comic book cartoons at all. We don't see the
The
hero.
realism.
Yeah, you know, like for him to be able to do that, yeah, he had to practice. It was something we got to see for the first time in it forever. You know,
We got to see a hero practice to be a hero.
correct. You know,
you-
instead of
well,
just
to be
picking
a
up and being
different
natural.
hero.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and which was awesome. So I did want to bring that up, and then we get to the fight scene and everything else, and then also we get a little moment where we learn that Sharon Carter is the power broker.
Did not see that coming.
So I know there's been rumors all over hitting this up, and I've always been dismissing. I'm like, no,
Oh, yeah.
she, you know, because first off, she comes from a family of that was like counterintelligence. It came from
Her
like
family
loyalty.
Her DNA consists of espionage
Mhm.
and loyalty to their country.
Correct. And yet here we see Sharon, and which I could see. You know, you gotta realize this is Peggy Carter's family right here. But I could see, and somebody I know asked, like, well, why do you think she did that? She felt betrayed. You know, she felt like she was betrayed. She was on the run for so many years now, and
Well,
we
yeah,
kind of get hinted at that she wasn't one of those that got snapped away in the blip.
No.
So that, I mean, it's 5+ years.
Yeah, she was essentially pushed into the life of crime.
Correct.
Because she didn't agree with the Accords. Okay, she was definitely on Cap's side on that.
Yep.
And by being on Cap's side, she became a fugitive. And I mean, when you become a fugitive, you can't just go out and work at McDonald's to make a living, you know. And so she needed to make a living. She needed a place to go where she could live and not necessarily be a target. And with her having the background of intelligence
Mhm.
and working with super people, she was able to create this whole thing, which I thought was really cool. And then finding out that she was in fact the power broker, phenomenal.
Oh
I
no,
loved it.
and then so yeah, we see that she's a power broker, and then she kills everybody who knows that she's a power broker. You know, or
Classic.
that could like out her basically.
Mhm.
You know,
Yep.
and then we do see she gets shot. You know,
Mhm.
which I'm going to bring up in a second, but before we do that, afterwards, you know, let me go back to my notes here. No, yeah. Afterwards, she gets shot. So we see the end of the scene. You know, the police are there and everything else. Medical's there. They're taking the rest of the super soldier, and you see that Sharon's been shot, but she refuses medical attention. And somebody pointed out, actually, I think John did. So I'm going to give John the credit for this. I don't know if he's asked you this, but do you think that she could be a Skrull? Because think about it. She refused medical attention because the medical analysis of her blood which signifies she's a scroll.
Yeah, so here's the thing. With Phase 4, I think we're probably going to see the Skrull invasion.
I think it's coming.
Which is also means that we're going to see the Thunderbolts or the Dark Avengers, one of the two, involved. And yeah, I think it's entirely possible that she's a Skrull. Because in my opinion, there's a few people who I have an inkling that could be a Skrull. And I think that was a huge, in my opinion, that was a huge kind of like, hey, pay attention to this. This is going to be key.
Well, I mean, and not like that though, but also at the end credit scene, you know, she gets pardoned, and the CIA is like, we're some of your stature we need working for us. You know, we want to give you back your job as a spy. You know, so yes, would you accept it? And she accepted it. And then as she's walking out from the Capitol building, you hear on the phone with we don't know who.
Correct.
It could be to the Skrulls, the mothership. You know, the Skrulls are like, "Hey guys, I just got, fuck this super serious. I got secrets now. We could do the invasion now. You know, and which I mean,
well, I mean, if you're gonna invade and you know that the United States is probably gonna be your biggest adversary when you invade,
you want their secrets.
An insider, and what better insider than a Carter?
Yep,
who's trusted with anything intelligence related. And they don't expect her to betray them. Like that's like you couldn't ask for a better undercover agent for yourself than that, right?
Yep,
can't beat that.
No, you're right. And then we also get to see the rest of the Flag Smashers and Super Soldiers killed by Zemo's butler, which was kind of just funny. I thought
it was funny.
It was, you know. And then also we see Walker given a new uniform and codename, U.S. Agent. You know, and I'm going to point out Walker's uniform before U.S. Agent, his Captain America uniform. You know, he had the star, actually for y'all, it's going to be on this side. And then he had the stripes, you know. That was already the U.S. Agent.
That was, yeah. So if you...
There was a very...
The only difference between that suit and the U.S. Agent suit, there's a bit of a color change. The stripes...
A little bit bigger, yep.
The stripes on the U.S. Agent are black and red.
Mm-hmm.
And they got rid of the star.
But I thought there was a star.
Get rid of it. They changed it.
Okay, yeah.
They changed it. They made it black instead of, because if you notice, his costume when he was given the mantle of Captain America was really missing white.
It was to a point. White was more of an accent instead of a primary color.
Well, right,
you know?
and then if you look at the helmet, how the A was mixed into a star.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and that was right here was the A.
And yeah. So the A with the star on the helmet and shirt were meant to symbolize that he puts America first.
Yep.
Versus if you look at Cap's, he had the star, but he only had an A on his helmet. He didn't have the star with the A.
Well, and in the comic books, it's been both ways.
Listen, we all know Marvel likes to hide things and messages and what they do.
They do.
And I think the variations in his costume versus Cap's original costumes was there on purpose.
And so, yeah. And then, so we see the U.S. Agent, which, I mean, anybody who knows anybody comic books knows John Walker was U.S. Agent. We knew that. We see, so at the end of the episode, at the end of this, we see a new Captain America, which everybody knew. And we see U.S. Agent, which I was not expecting from the very beginning until he's like John Walker. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's U.S. Agent. We're going to see U.S. Agent and all that. So my thing is, do you think U.S. Agent is being reserved for a movie or season 2?
Well, based
because there was, and let me go on this.
I know what you're about to say.
There was a name change at the end of the episode from Falcon and the Winter Soldier to Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Yes.
So I think that it's almost guaranteed we're going to have a season 2 of this series, and the reason I say that is if you look at like the award season coming up, right? WandaVision was submitted as a limited series for their nominations, whereas Falcon and Winter Soldier was submitted as a new series, not as a limited series.
Correct.
And so after this last episode aired, There was a name change to the series. They changed it to Captain America and Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was announced that Captain America 4 is in the works.
That's just got announced a couple of days ago. Yes.
Yep. So that being said, I think they're going to continue doing this mixture of their shows intertwining perfectly with the movies.
Oh yeah.
So I think U.S. Agent isn't going to be just saved for the movies or the series. I think he's going to be a pretty pinnacle bad guy. Well, not bad guy.
Well,
he. So let me make this clear. U.S. Agent pretty much maintains like an anti-hero status. He's kind of almost along the lines of kind of like Deadpool in the sense, or like Punisher, where he's not really a superhero good guy, but he's also not a super villain bad guy. He's kind of doing what he's gonna do. He's gonna do what's good for him.
Well, it's. You're absolutely right, because I mean I hate to say it, compare him to Deadpool, because Deadpool more of who pays more money.
Well, I said Deadpool.
Yeah.
I was really more alluding to Punisher.
The Punisher's more we're going to be like. So
Yeah.
The thing about U.S. Agent isn't that what he's doing is right. It's what he believes he's doing is right. And
yeah, it's right to him, not
correct.
to everyone else, and that's exactly like how Punisher does his thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're going to see U.S. Agent a lot. I think we're going to see him a lot more than we think we are.
But also, this is a U.S. agent that is working for Hydra without knowing he's working for Hydra.
Right. Now, that's going to feed into, that could feed into a few things. We could see where he finds out that he's working for Hydra and he does a change of heart and he ends up joining up with the Avengers to fight Hydra.
Correct.
Which we could absolutely see. We could see him finding out and embracing it, and then maybe using that, because we know there's stories where Captain America was a double or even triple agent at one point. So I mean, we could easily see U.S. Agent being a double agent where, he finds out he's working for Hydra, and instead of freaking out, he goes, you know what? I'm going to help you guys. And now he goes to the Avengers and says, hey, I was working for Hydra. I didn't know it. I want to join you guys. And now he's a double agent within Avengers. I mean, this could go so many ways.
And truthfully, as of right now, we don't know if Hydra is still around, because, I mean, there's no speculation that Val is Hydra.
Not yet, but I mean...
But we know it from being comic books, And
yeah.
So... And yes, to me, Val is Hydra. She's the leader of Hydra right now, from what I can see, until proven otherwise. I'm sorry to say, but she's guilty until proven innocent. I know that's not that's so un-American, but still.
But yeah, with her character though, like we know that she's bad news.
Yeah, she's a bad guy. We just don't know in what way. But yes.
Throw Carly's comment up there real quick. I think that's why this twist was so awesome in this show, because Peggy Carter is a hero. She is a legend in the intelligence community, in the Marvel universe. She means something. She's almost as symbolic. She is symbolic to intelligence community as Cap is to the military, right? Like those are names that you don't think of as could ever do wrong. And I think that's why this twist is so fucking cool, because it changes the dynamic for characters that we've had experiences with. And that's why I love Marvel, and I love how they're doing things, because it keeps us guessing. We know how many ways it can go, and honestly, at this point, whatever way it goes, we're gonna fucking love it. It's gonna be awesome.
In some ways, they just can't do any wrong,
At this point, it doesn't seem like they can.
So something that we do on our podcast, I'm going to bring onto here. We've got to do a review, a Hyperion review. So where are we rating this show?
I want to rate it Bloody Shields.
Bloody Shields. And don't worry, guys, this is not going to count for our final actual end of the year ratings. This is just a fun little thing. So, all right, I'll get on board with that. All right, so how many out of 10? What is how many Bloody Shields are you rating this?
So the whole series, I'm giving it a 10, man.
You're giving it a 10. Wow.
I'm giving it a 10, and the reason I'm giving it a 10 is in short, where it picks up makes perfect sense. Okay, we both guys have gone through a period of healing and reconciling what they've been through. We see the formation of a beautiful friendship between Bucky and Sam. We see a awesome parallel of how the real world is to how they portrayed things in the show.
Okay.
And we see and we get by episode 6, we have a new Cap. We have a U.S. agent. We have Bucky Barnes, the White Wolf. We have Zemo going back into custody. We have throwbacks to the rig, where the criminals are kept. It brings us full circle, and it brings us to a point to where now we're all on the edge of our seats, waiting to see what happens next.
No, you're absolutely right. And so I'm going to give it 8. 8 out of 10.
Okay. You son of a bitch. Why?
So I do see some problems with it. There's some problems. And
what problems?
All right. So I don't feel like we explored enough of Isaiah Bradley's history. He touches on the whole I was experimented on, which is something I wish they kind of exacerbated on. There was a whole debate whether he was even the Black Captain America in the MCU. Was he? We don't know. We do know he fought Winter Soldier.
Right. I will tell you this, which I'm not going to take away from your time a whole lot, but I would love if Marvel would give us a mini series
on Isaiah Bradley.
On Isaiah Bradley, because like I said, in the comics, he's got a pretty fascinating story, and it's deep. And I think if they did like a mini series on that, I think that'd be dope. So continue. I just wanted to say that because I would love to see that.
So, and then also, I love the show, but to me, and the reason why I rated it a little bit lower is because to a non-comic fan, this show could get very, very confusing, very, very off-putting, because it introduces a lot of people. You have no clue who they are.
I can see that, but I think if one, I don't necessarily see somebody watching this if they haven't been an MCU fan at least.
No, and yeah, but also at the same time though, like it begs the question, like a lot of people's asking, why did Sharon Carter now? But she's a traitor now, and that's totally opposite. Like the whole plot twist, the only way I could get on board with that is if she's a Skrull. That's the only way. If not, I'm sorry to say, nobody's going to somebody who's been so loyal to patriotism towards their country, towards the espionage community. I do feel like she got betrayed. I
do feel that they didn't elaborate enough on what she's been up to since Civil War.
There's not. Like all we get to see is she's been in Megaport. Oh, okay, she's been.
Okay, but why?
How's she surviving then?
How'd she get there? How'd she rise to power? How did she become who she is? Yeah, I definitely think they could have definitely elaborated on that more.
I give it 8 because it's still a good movie. It kept me entertained. It gave me what I wanted. At the end of this day, it did give me what I wanted and then some. I wanted to see how is he going to get the shield, or how is he going to become Captain America? And not only that, though, but the whole point of becoming Captain America is how can he convince other people he's Captain America, And then also how, like, in becoming Captain America, how's he going to be trained like Captain America? Because everybody knows Captain America uses his super strength to throw the shield, And we saw all of that in this series. So that's the reason. But one last thing I want to point out was the speech that Sam Wilson tells the senator. That speech gave me chills.
Yeah, it was a message that it was definitely a message that I think needed to be said, and not just in the movie, but I think to the world, like the real world. It was, yeah. I
felt like he was saying that not just to the characters that was on screen, but also to the senators up in Washington D.C.
Absolutely.
To me, I was like, I really wish the senators are watching this because they need to hear a lot of this, And But I've always said, or I've said this after I watched that, because I started seeing little clips here and there that, and I wish John was back here because he would probably eat me alive. But I saw a lot of allegory to what's going on in America today. And the connections I made, and these are my connections from a Republican's point of view to our 3 viewers that are now watching us, and I think one of them's me. You've got the Flag Smashers. To me, that was the Black Lives Matter group. You know, they want to change the way America is. Now, was the ways they were doing it right? My view, not really. You know, but they had a mission they wanted to accomplish. All right.
So I want to elaborate on what Frankie's saying, because I can feel like that could maybe be misconstrued.
Yeah, I was about to say, I've got to be careful on how I word this.
The Flag Smashers were a militarized. They were a movement that turned militarized. Okay, Black Lives Matter is a movement that has very honest, real world, much needed intentions, but some people have perverted it to get away with doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
And Flag Smashers were kind of a in-your-face extreme version of what happens when people take a good, honest thing and ruin it.
Oh no, yeah, and that's it's like, so the whole thing about the Flag Smashers was that the people in Congress were forgetting about them. You know, if you look at what's going on with like our current presidency. He's gotten so much money from Black Lives Matter group. Has he done anything to help out the Black Lives Matter group?
No, especially since he became president. No,
exactly. Really. And I want to leave this loosely because we're not going to go political here. But to me, I started making these connections like this, and the more and more you look into it, the more and more deeper it gets into it. I mean, I fell into huge rabbit holes like doing that. But as you could tell, any way you do that. Now, and it's interesting, John pointed out it was all lives matter. So I'm probably going to have a private discussion with John about that later and find out what his thoughts are. But no, I totally agree that when he said that speech, he said it not just to the people on screen, but to the entire world, to our current administration, to our current Congress, you know. And it was more in a nutshell. It was like, hey, you know, you're making these laws and making these changes, yet, you know, you're not seeing the people you're affecting. You should probably be with the people you're affecting to be able to make these changes. You know, talk with these people, these, you know, sort of deal.
Right. So we ran over a little bit, but I mean, man, this show was everything we wanted. And, yeah, man, this 6-episode stretch was like the best thing on TV. So I was excited about it. And guys, we hope that you all really enjoyed Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think it was a great appetizer before we get to the main course. That is phase 4 of MCU. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. I know, Frankie, you did as well. And guys, I want to thank you all for watching tonight. It's late on a Sunday night. I think we had 7 people at one point hanging out. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of Frankie, Danny, and John, that we appreciate you guys watching and hanging out with us, interacting with us. As we say every week, guys, and we're not just saying it to say it, we truly do this for you guys. You know, we enjoy what we do. You know, this isn't a paycheck for us. This is a hobby for us. But we do this for you guys. We want to entertain you. We want to include you guys. So thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Don't forget, we're still doing giveaways. So go leave your reviews, screenshot your reviews, post them on the social medias, you know, spread the word about us, review us, good or bad. And thank you guys for hanging out with us and watching us. We love you guys. And
well, before we go, guys, I'm just going to let y'all know there will not be a live show next Sunday.
Correct.
We will be doing our live show on, let me look at that calendar again, on Tuesday, the following that Sunday, which is May 4th. And yes, we are doing a Star Wars theme. And if you're curious, also sticking with Star Wars, we will probably be doing a live, Hyperion review live again of a Disney Plus show, and that will probably be the Bad Batch over on Disney Plus too. So after that series probably concludes, just kind of get Danny included on something with Star Wars, because she is a huge Star Wars nerd. If you did not know that, or I shouldn't say that, it's a huge Star Wars fan. Is probably
no, she's
better.
definitely a Star Wars nerd, and she's got a weird obsession with that crybaby Kylo Ren. And Carly, yeah, we're doing it on May 4th because it is May 4th.
Star Wars
but
Day.
yeah,
It will be completely Star Wars themed. Believe me.
So
we've got some.
Carly, we agree. This is the best part of our Sundays as well. We enjoy doing this. We love this, and we love having you guys hanging out with us. Because again, this is for you guys. Bottom line.
Definitely. So, guys, until next time,
I'm Steve.
I'm Frankie.
We'll see you all next time.